Hello again, and welcome to Clear Skies Retirement with Jay Kirkwood at Secure Financial Management. My name is Randy Cook, and each week, Jay and I sit down here and talk through some of the things that you might be wondering about or worried about when it comes to retirement. And if you have questions, that's a really good red flag that you probably need somebody to bounce those questions off. And as the closer that you get to retirement, the more you may need that help. So that's why we are here. Jay, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Randy. Summer's treating me well. How about you?
Yes. We're moving our way out of summer, as a matter of fact. So we're moving our way into September and the last quarter of the year. And I say to everybody, this is that time of year when things just slide like crazy. It just goes like 60 all the way to Christmas.
I mean, and 26 is here before you know it.
I know it. So if you kind of made a vow to yourself at the beginning of the year, this is the year that I'm going to sit down and talk to a financial advisor about my retirement, and here we are. And you haven't done it yet. And I would encourage people, because I know that at this time of the year, probably moving into the fourth quarter, you are talking to your clients and checking in with them. And this is the time of year when people probably want to talk about their finances.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, especially considering the vast majority of people we deal with are retirees. We definitely need to do a check-in before the end of the year. Are we going to do any Roth conversions? What are we looking at tax-wise? There's a lot going on. And I had someone tell this to me when I was younger. I was like, yeah, it kind of makes sense. I was like, hey, do you remember when you were a kid and you were in, fifth grade, and summer would come, and it seemed like it went on forever? Right? Like you were out of school forever, and then finally school rolled back around. And I said, now, like, it's a blink of an eye and it's gone.
I know.
And like, well, yeah, like, how old are you in fifth grade? 10 or something, right? Like, well, that's 1/10 of your life that you've experienced.
Right.
Now you're 40, you're 50, you're 60. It's 1/40th, 1/50th. And it goes by in a flash. So we got to stay on top of it.
Yep. And the planning needs to be done. And if you haven't started that at all and you don't have that person yet, that's why we have this show. Introduce you to Jay and say, this is why we're here, is to help you with that and start that conversation. So one of the things I find interesting when I talk to people about money, and that is if they're, at all kind of astute about the whole thing, I'll hear people say something like, I'm following Nancy Pelosi's stock portfolio. And I was like, okay, knock yourself out. And I hear this all the time, is people emulating what they think is successful. So people look at people like Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett, he's got so many zeros after his name that how can we possibly have anything in common with Warren Buffett financially? But people look at him and they say, okay, what's he doing with his money? And what's kind of interesting about Warren Buffett over the last year and a half or so, he's been moving out of risk in stocks and moving more over toward cash. Now, I'm sure he's got plenty of risk in his portfolio, but he now has almost $315 billion in cash and cash equivalents. Is that anything that we should be looking at? Because I know he's in his 90s and he's completely different from everybody else, but he's moving to safety, away from the stock market. Is there anything there that we should be thinking about?
I would never knock what St. Warren is doing, okay? But to be transparent, he's been doing this for a while, right? He's been doing this since probably 21, 22, he's been this stockpiling cash, looking for good deals. And his whole thing is he's a value investor, right? He goes in and he looks at, where can I buy something for value? This is the other side of it. That cat has access to deals that we're never going to get in front of, right? We just do. Like it was in, and I'm going to butcher some of these numbers, but like you'll get the point. It was back in 2008 when everything was falling apart. The world was coming to an end, right? There were banks and maybe even the government was calling him being like, hey, you got any money lying around that you can help us out with, right? And he negotiated deals. There was one with Bank of America and he got like an 8% and then a convertible note or something. And like I said, don't hold me to those numbers. I can't remember exactly what it was, but the deal was just absolutely incredible. And if you're him, you want to have cash on the side for those opportunities that are going to come up that you're going to have access to that nobody else is going to have access to. For the average person and the people that we deal with, and probably a lot of the people that are listening to this show, Randy, can you afford to just have money sitting in cash for 3, 4, 5 years? It's probably not a long-term strategy. That's one thing. And even if we say, yeah, these numbers are incredible, right? So I think when the word billion gets thrown out there, most people, and we're probably included in that, Randy,
yes.
It's kind of hard for you to understand, like, what does that actually mean?
Right?
Like, it's 1,000 million, and we can't comprehend it. So 350 of that, yeah, it's kind of a lot.
Yeah.
But he has a lot of other risk that is in the markets, right? You know, he owns Dairy Queen, Geico, I believe they own, Berkshire Hathaway owns, which is Warren's company he runs. I think they've got NetJets. There's a bunch of them, right? So he has plenty of market risk still. The stories, when you read them, you would think he has nothing invested and everything's in cash, but that's not the case.
Got it. So when we talk about risk, so let's bring it down to the level of the people that we're talking to here. And that is, okay, so Warren Buffett has a big pile of cash. How much of a big pile of cash? I mean, we talk about having an emergency fund. We talk about
That's just what I was about to mention.
Yeah, and say, you know, how much of my money should be at risk in the market. It's going to be different for everybody, but that's a conversation that you're going to have.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was about to bring up is a core fundamental principle of financial planning is that we should have an emergency fund. Now, how big is that emergency fund? The typical answer is 3 to 6 months of living expenses is what you should have as an emergency fund. But that differs for everybody else. And the way we approach it really is, what is the number that makes you feel comfortable, right? And if you're still working, what sort of job is it that you have? If you have a stable W-2, you're not really worried about losing your job, you know, it's not exciting, but it's just, you know, it's stable, it's always there. Maybe you can get away with 3 months. Right, you don't need as big a cushion there. Now, what if you're someone who's sales or commission? Well, I mean, you kind of don't know what's happening from one day to the next. Maybe it needs to be a little bit larger. Let's transfer that more to the people we deal with and the audience that listens to us more. Well, most of them are in retirement or getting very close to it. Now it becomes a much more emotional decision as to how much money makes you feel safe. The reason I bring this up is I've got a client in Colorado, and she's been working with me for decades. And she always has a lot of money in either her checking or her savings account. When I say a lot of money, she'll have $250,000 at a time.
Okay, that makes her feel good, right?
and I have learned in our meeting, I don't bring it up. I was like, hey, that's a lot of money just sitting there not being invested, not doing anything. And I've learned that is what gives her a good night's sleep.
Okay.
Right. That's what makes her feel, okay, so be it. A good night's sleep is worth that then.
So that's a conversation that we're going to need to have. How much of your money is in cash? But right now, I mean, if you were to talk to me 5 years ago, that cash was getting like less than 1%.
Right.
Now that cash can get maybe 2, 3, 4% if you have it in the right place.
Little bit easier to have that sitting in cash when you're actually making a little bit of money rather than, 0.1% or whatever it was we were getting before.
Yep. Let's have a conversation about your retirement. Give Jay a call over at Secure Financial Management. And if you haven't started on a retirement plan yet and you're looking for that person, give Jay a call. Let's see if we're a good fit together. Let's have a conversation at least. And then maybe we put the papers out on the table and say, here's what I've done in a 401k. Here's what I've done in my savings. Here's what I have at work. Here's a stock portfolio. Whatever it is that's going to power your retirement, let's see what it brings to us. Here's another number. It's 210-985-6200. That's our phone number. You can give us a call and just say, hey, I'd like to talk about my retirement. We'll go from there. Or you can use our website as well. It's retire210.com. Retire210.com. Bottom of the page there's a place for you to put some information in there. You'll see Jay's book right there, Wall Street's Game, and you can pick that up as well. And we would love to have the conversation with you and how we can help with your retirement. Well, speaking of 401ks, that's what a lot of people are bringing to their retirement table. That's the main bulk of their money. It used to be the value of your house. Now it's the value of your 401k. And then that brings up the whole tax conversation here. And there's an interesting article in the Wall Street Journal, and it said, if you do one of these IRA to Roth conversions, it's going to help put you in a lower tax bracket. If you go into a lower tax bracket in your retirement, it can extend the life of your money by up to 7 years. That's a big statement to me. Do you find that those kind of conversions and getting yourself out of the tax wash, does it make that big a difference?
Yeah, it can. I think a lot of people, they don't realize that with no action, that 401k or IRA, more likely at this point, by the time it comes to take required distribution. So a lot of people hear this term RMD, what's this all about? And I'm 60, whatever, that's coming up when I'm 75, 15 years from now. Well, we just talked about how things happen quickly the older we get, right? So that RMD age sneaks up on you. And if we have typical market environments, is it reasonable to expect that maybe that balance in that IRA could double in 15 years? It's quite possible, depending on how you're invested, it's quite possible. And now we've got required distributions. And what else do we have coming in? Do we have some Social Security? Maybe, probably some Social Security coming in. Is there maybe some pension, very rental income, whatever it is? Well, then we may have a required minimum distribution that for some of our clients that came to us later that we didn't get a chance to do planning for ahead of time, they're well into the six figures, well into the six figures of these required minimum distributions. And there's things that people don't think about. It's not just taxes, right? So is that getting you up into the 22, 28, 32% tax bracket? Yes. In addition to that, and again, this is usually something that people kind of don't realize until it's too late and it's hit them, is by the time you're on your required minimum distribution, you're on Medicare, right? Well, there's something that will come back to bite you called IRMA. I think you've heard of that, Randy.
Sure, there's Uncle Sam and Aunt Irma. Neither one of them
Aunt Irma, yeah. Neither of them are invited to Christmas, right? And it's a surcharge that you're going to have to pay for the privilege of having Medicare. And if you have a prescription Part D, you're going to get hit on that as well. And so is it taxes, but it's a multiplier effect, right? There's all these other things that pop up as soon as you start to make over a certain level in retirement, and it's not that much money, that you're going to get hit with.
Well, taxes are a real issue in retirement for many people. And I actually saw a pie chart one time and it says of every dollar that a retiree spends, and they broke it down in the pie chart there, 30 cents of every dollar is going to go toward taxes. That's the biggest chunk of all your spending out there. It's not going on trips. It's not your utility bills. It's not all your health care bills. It's taxes. And it's certainly something that we need to address because we come to the table with these 401ks and these IRAs. Give us a call. Let's talk through it. This should be a part of the retirement conversation. If you're headed for this big tax bill or big tax liability in your retirement years, in your 70s, 73, 74, 75, when all that RMD stuff starts kicking in, we should know about it. And let's do something about it now. Give us a call. Give us a look at our website. Retire210.com is the website. Retire210.com. There down at the bottom of the page, you can put some information in there, and then we'll reach out to you and start the conversation. Or 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200. All right, when I was a kid, I used to watch my dad pay the bills, and he did the envelope thing. He would put cash in an envelope for church, and then he'd put cash in an envelope for utilities. He'd put cash in an envelope for the mortgage, and then he would put cash, a little bit of cash, what he called minnow money. That was our fishing trip money. He always had an envelope for that. And then it was real. You were putting cash in there instead of writing a check. And then you would eventually write that check. And that was something that kind of went out of vogue when we had Quicken, computers, apps, and now we can pay all our bills online. Well, apparently that's now making a comeback. Younger people are starting to go back to the envelope theory, and they're calling it cash stuffing. Everything seems to make a return. I'm waiting for skinny ties and parachute pants. I don't know if I'm going to go that direction.
They'll come back.
All right. So as far as stuffing money, people come to you, Jay, and they have their financial life in front of them. Is there any time when you look, is it common for you to look someplace at their portfolio and say, this is overstuffed? We've got too much money in this account or too much money here. What do you see?
Yep. Yeah, it happens all the time because the stock market is, and with investments, right? It's not It's not a democracy, right? When the market goes up 20%, it's not because every single stock that makes up that index went up 20%. Mm-hmm. It's because some of them went up 40, 50, and some of them lost, and it averaged out 20%. So it's very common that we'll have to do a rebalance, or somebody brings us a portfolio that they've been managing themselves and now they want to hand it off to us, or they're coming from another advisor and they haven't kind of reviewed anything in a while. And we look at this and we'll say, hey, you've got 30 to 40% of your portfolio made up of 4 or 5 stocks. Mm-hmm. And we've got something called concentration risk there. It's very common. And it's one of those things that sneaks up on you, right? To say, hey, portfolio's going up, that's great. But what's driving it? And now are we out of whack with our risk? Happens all the time.
Mm-hmm. So you can be overstuffed in risk. You look at 401ks. People come in, maybe they have company stock in their 401k. They love their company and it's been doing great, and they feel like they have a piece of that action. Can you be overstuffed in company stock?
Yeah, we had a lady who just came over to us from, she works at a bank called Frost Bank. Everybody in Texas will know what bank that is. She's been there forever. She's getting ready to retire soon. Several $1 million in a portfolio, and over half of it was company stock. Mm-hmm. And before we do anything, to be respectful of her, I said, hey, do you have an emotional attachment to this? She's like, not, and she's pretty savvy with investment. She's like, yeah, not enough for the risk that it's posing to me, right? Having half of my wealth in one company. I said, hey, look, I think the bank is very stable. I don't see anything bad happening with it. It's just, do you want to have half of your wealth tied to the success or failure of one entity? While you're working, it's probably not a good idea then, but while you're working, it's different to when you're retirement. We're going to be using this money to fund our retirement for multiple decades now. And the risk is it's really not acceptable at that stage.
I think everybody our age remembers Enron and what happened there. That's an extreme example, but that is something that can happen if you put all your eggs into that particular basket. Well, when I changed jobs to do this and talk to people like you, I was about 50 years old. And when I moved to my new job, I had a 401k that was available to me, but I also, for the very first time, had a Roth 401k that was available to me. And I made the decision around 50 to 52 years old that I have put enough in a regular 401k, and now I'm going to put all of my eggs in that Roth 401k basket. Is there ever a time when you look at people and say, you have enough in this tax-deferred area, let's move something elsewhere because this is overstuffed?
Yeah, absolutely. And with the Roth side of it, the Roth has been around for a while, but as part of 401ks, it's not brand new, but it's newer, right? It hasn't been around for multiple decades inside of most 401ks. So there's definitely a lot of catching up that people can do there. And I always remind people, hey, hopefully you're getting a match, right? You should contribute anyway, but hopefully you're getting a match. Well, just remember, even if you put 100% of your contribution to the Roth, your employer's match is not going there. You're still going to build up this taxable bucket that we've got to deal with. But the actions you're taking by doing the Roth, it's certainly helping us out down the road.
Yeah. So there are so many ways that you can come to the table. And I wonder if people think that you sit down and a financial advisor is going to say, this has got to go, or this has got to go, and we're going to rip and tear, and everything that you've done is wrong. Not true at all. But there might be some places where there can be an improvement, and that is the evaluation process, and that's one of the things that we'll do for you at Secure Financial Management. Let's get a really good look at where your money is. I bet you've done a great job saving. Now, where is the money, and is it in the right places for this stage of your life? Because somewhere along the line, you're going to have to get paid on all of this, and that's the whole idea. Give us a look on our website. Give us a call. Here's the website. It's retire210.com. Retire210.com. Bottom of the page, there's a place for you to put some information in there. It's just a little contact information. The team will reach out to you and just start the conversation. How can we help? What are you worried about? What are you confused about? Is it Social Security? Is it the economy? Do you think the market's going to crash? Let's get it all out on the table. Let's talk through it. Or give us a call at 210-985-6200. Again, 210-985-6200. 6200, and let's start talking about your retirement. Well, when we talk about retirement, there's a lot of things that you can look up online, and I refer to them as rules of thumb. There's the 4% rule. There's the 100 minus your age and all those different things. Well, what's interesting here in this particular article, it says that a lot of people in retirement, just regular people like you and me, regular people are not believing in a lot of this stuff anymore. They don't believe in the 4% rule. They don't believe in 100 minus your age should be your risk level. And 64% of people now say that 65 is not the retirement age anymore. But what's also interesting is 84% of financial advisors still believe in the 4% rule and the 100 minus your age, and they're still using all these things. So if your financial advisor is using some of those old rules and you see them, Jay, that might be a little bit of a red flag, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, it's easy to just get stuck in a certain way of doing things and not, update it for how things change. We talk a lot about this industry and the financial side of things, and one of the problems this industry is facing is the average age of an advisor is like late 50s or early 60s, right?
Yeah.
And guess what? Those guys want to retire too at some point. Okay? And there's very few young people coming into the industry, and it's a bit of a problem because the demand is going up, the supply is being reduced, and as a lot of these guys that are about to age out, do I really want to go and redo my whole system to update from this 4% rule? It's been kind of working pretty okay for me now, and it's on autopilot. I'm not going to change it. Well, that could be affecting you, right? That could be affecting your retirement performance and the success that your retirement will last as long as you do.
Yeah, there's some old rules. I mean, that we've talked many times about the 60-40 portfolio, and it has been something that has worked for many years. And then we came up against a year where the 60 didn't work and the 40 didn't work. It's like, what? Yeah. And then I remember right after that, then they say, oh, the 60-40 is back. And I don't know. Just using those rules of thumb, sometimes I think that they can be good generic starting points, but maybe it's not maybe a hybrid. At least that starts the conversation, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, let's take the 60-40 rule that comes up a lot, and it's very common in meetings we have with people like, well, how should we do it? I read the 60-40, and like, hey, let's discuss it. Maybe that's the right thing for you, maybe not. If you were in a 60-40 portfolio from 2010 until the end of 2021, your 40% that was in fixed income did absolutely nothing for you. And dragged your total return down significantly. So blindly following that rule, was it a good idea? This is the other thing, right? If you are in that 60-40 blindly, and then you're also following your 4% rule blindly, well, yeah, the 4% isn't going to work because your 60-40 isn't given the performance that it should. Yeah. What was expected to, that 60-40 portfolio is something that really came up back in the 80s. And what were interest rates in the 80s, Randy?
Oh, they were pretty high.
A little bit different, right? Yeah, exactly. So, if you can get 8, 10, 12% on that fixed income side, that bond side, that more conservative side of your portfolio, well, heck yeah. I mean, that's all day, right? Let's do it. Well, the world changes. We've been in almost a continuous declining interest rate environment since the early to mid 80s or so. And if all you do is you're locked in, well, like this is the golden rule, 60-40 and 4%, well, you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah. These are things that you want to sit down and talk to your financial advisor about. And if you don't have one right now, that's why we have this show, introduce you to Jay, and let's at least start the conversation. Let's find out who you are, where you are. And I mean, Jay, when you sit down and you start your process with people, most of it, at least in the first couple of meetings, is all about listening, isn't it? It's who is this person sitting next to me? What are their goals? What are they bringing to the table? And how can we help?
Yeah, look, what's your story? That's what I want to hear, right? What's your story? Where have you come from? What have you done up till now? Where are you trying to get to? What is the retirement you want to live look like? What resources do we have to fund that? And how do we make it happen in the most efficient way for you?
Give us a call. Let's sit down and talk about your retirement. It's time. And if you made your a vow to yourself at the beginning of the year. This is the year. Well, here we are, September, and we haven't got that done yet. Let's sit down and make that appointment and at least get the conversation going. 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200 is our number. Give us a call. Let's start the conversation there. Or use our website. That's a good way to do it, is learn more about secure financial management, tool around the website, learn about Jay, learn about his book, learn about what he does and how he may be able to help. That's retire210.com. retire210.com. And if you want to hear more of this podcast, make sure you hit the follow or subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. We'll see you next time here on the Clear Skies Retirement Podcast with Jay Kirkwood.
Investment advisory services offered through investment advisory representatives at Secure Financial Management, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed are not designed nor intended to be applicable to any person's individual circumstances. It should not be considered as investment advice, nor does it constitute a recommendation that anyone engage in or refrain from a particular course of action. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Secure Financial Management is licensed in your state, please contact their office. Secure Financial Management is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Wholesalers Insurance. Jamin J. Kirkwood, Texas Insurance License number 1421850.